Welcome to Actually Controller, the podcast that is actually Controller, and we are actually in control of everything you are hearing right now. I'm so very sorry.
Voted nuts.
Okay, so it's my turn now to tell you the real truth of exactly how we all met.
Jeffrey.
Okay, all these guys are going to tell you these ridiculous stories. Don't believe them. All right. So legitimately, we're going to start with Chad. Way back in the day when Jesus was still walking.
The Kraken was created.
The Kraken was created. Thank you. I appreciate that, Bob. And
You're
at that time, the Kraken was playing in a band called Image. And they wore really kick-ass masks, really cool masks on stage. Not all of them, but some of them did. As a matter of fact, Chad did not wear a mask.
Because the Kraken didn't
any of them.
There's a good possibility Bandy would have been something like that.
Bandy, and then I believe
And we had somebody that would come sit in on like a song or two. He played didgeridoo.
Yeah.
His name was Nick.
Mm-hmm.
But he would come sit in and play didgeridoo on a couple songs. It was really kind of cool.
So I technically met him.
he's done like weird things like gluing like
paint.
Little eyes all over his face.
Yeah.
Hold on, you said Nick?
To look like an angel.
Oh, I know Nick.
God, I'm blanking on his last name right now.
But at any rate, I met him there.
He was actually at... Yeah, well, anyway, sorry.
I had met him there post the whole like Garden of Eden thing. So this is after the Garden of Eden if you're taking it from a biblical standpoint. All right, so like well past it. But we hung out and we had a really good time.
Yes.
And we drank, and I had actually met his wife before I had met him. I knew his wife at the time, his ex-wife.
There you go. I was about to say caveat.
Sorry.
First wife.
First wife, like back in high school, was friends with my circle, so it was real easy to catch up and get to know him. He was actually the favorite person out of Image that I met. I'm sorry, Corey, I love you.
Aww.
I'm sorry, Bandy, I love you guys. I know I hung out and partied with you guys, but I didn't hang out like I hung out with him, so it's just real. Randy, I love your face. Anyway, then
you kind of already filled in a lot of my story.
No. We're gonna go back to the legit beginning. Okay.
Now,
so when we talk about the
now
Firefly,
in biblical time, we're at the flood.
Yeah. So if we talk about the Firefly, there was this big change that was happening in the society of Fort Wayne, Indiana at the time, and that was coffee shops. Weirdly enough, up until that point, pretty much everybody hung out at a diner in the evening time, or like, you know, an Azars or what have you. So
which
it was
we still did.
Yeah, we still did that, but it became this daytime drinking place, okay, of coffee and
Jones Soda.
Oh, God, I remember Jones Soda.
Oh, what a wonderful time. Anyway, at this place, we had like he was saying, like this gathering
and balls.
of 30, 40 some people. Now, the other something to recognize is during this time is during the time of LG flip phones. Okay, so LG flip phones, you got to text with like one thumb, and sometimes you got to like extra double
Turbo tap.
Triple
Yeah.
tap.
1 2 3 1 1.
Man, I could text without even looking at my phone
It was
back then.
ridiculous. Okay.
Yes.
So all of the info that we got comes to us this way. Okay. And so that means half of what we get is mistyped with the wrong easy second or third letter of half of what you're getting.
Before autocorrect existed.
Exactly.
Yes.
This is totally that. And so I get this text of this dude. This dude is gonna get my medal from Andy, you know, and I'm like, bro, what's going on? He sounds so upset, and I'm reading text now. Mind you, again, autocorrect doesn't work. He just said so. All right, so I'm
Thanks, Chris, for being the historian.
I'm reading through his text, and I can't tell if he's seriously upset, if he might be under the influence of flowers,
Because texting conveys so much emotion.
Exactly. So I'm trying to figure out. He ends up showing up, and he's like, okay, he's over at Omega right now. We should go out there, and you can do it there. And so I'm getting literally all the information that I'm supposed to beat up this guy, and that he apparently came after his girlfriend and knew about it or whatever. in like 20 minutes time, and he knows where he's at. So he's going to take me from the Firefly and drive me literally 3 blocks over to Omega so I can meet this guy.
Hi.
And so so I go there, and he's chilling with another one of my friends. Hi, Kevin. How are you?
We just
Hi,
went up and watched
Kevin.
Taproot.
Yeah. Hey.
Oh, nice.
Love you, Kevin. Hey,
Hi, Kev.
and if you guys, shameless plug for Kevin, if you want chainmail jewelry, hit him up. Anyway.
Yep.
So Kevin leaves, and but he was my in to sit at the table because I go and sit and talk to Kevin for a little bit. We talk a little bit about music because that's what Kevin does at the time. He's a guitar player guy. And he mentions that he's playing guitar with Steven, who's the guy that is my mark. Okay? At that point, he wasn't Steven. He was just the...
Hold on. Were you the mark when we were in TD?
Hitman Jeff.
No.
Not yet? Okay.
No.
Okay. Hey, Jeff's really violent. You guys just don't know.
I've
no,
always
I
met
do.
the good side of Jeff.
Oh, I love you.
He doesn't love Steve.
Nope.
It's okay.
Well, no, but the more that I talked to him, the more we talked about, like, you know, Ibanez and like 7-string and the drop. Like, like some of the bands he was bringing up were some of my favorite too. And I'm like, man, I don't think the more I talk to him, the more he doesn't seem like a jerk. He's not an idiot. He's not a bastard. I don't need to get in trouble right
Not
now.
for any of that.
No, not fair.
And so like the more that we talk, the more we realize that like we share a crap ton in common, you know. And so I have to like kind of pick at his mind a little bit about like the chick situation, and asked him point blank of whether or not he knew Andy's girlfriend at the time. I'm gonna leave her name out of it because it's like
Yeah.
she's in the middle of it, man. Okay, but he's like, maybe. And that was at that point where when you look confused when I dropped the name,
Yeah.
that I looked over at Andy like, what am I doing here? You know,
Now, I
like,
did know her friend at the time,
Yeah.
who I was
interested
trying
in.
to hook up
Yeah,
with.
you were interested, and that was what I gathered from there. I'm like, you got it all wrong, bro. And then Bob, and no, Steve is like my best friend now. I would never.
But hey, don't. I want to make sure if he says best friend to you as well, don't take it that it's too important. We're all his best
We're
friends.
all his best friends.
That's right.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I'll cry.
Yeah.
I'll cry later.
I mean, I didn't think it mattered that much to you guys.
He just uses the term, just, you know.
I really didn't.
But
think it
I
mattered.
thought I was the best friend.
Does
Yeah.
he try to cuddle you afterwards?
Yes.
Okay.
He cuddles during.
But then he's like, I'm the little
You're right,
spoon,
Chad.
and I'm supposed to just, you know, cuddle
He
him.
likes to be the little spoon, which is weird. It's like something
Jeff
with
was a very
something to do with the
different person
cheeks.
at that day.
I don't
That's
know.
all.
All I know is that, you know, I have to cuddle him.
Better you than me.
So I'm meeting Bob now that I you know, moving on here.
Okay.
I had actually met him, as he was saying, in an almost fight apparently in the tunnel. We did
The
end up
tunnel.
getting him really
Fragranced.
fragranced. Yes, that is that.
Mhm.
And actually we were supposed to go to a football game to go meet people that evening, and he was going to go with us. We walked with him to the football. He disappeared.
Oh yeah. I did.
Like legitimately, as soon as we got there, we looked around and we're like, "Wasn't he here with us?"
yeah.
Like,
Did you want to know
you
what
were
happened to me?
gone. Well, I don't know if you left. While
No,
we were
no,
walking
He got
down.
paranoid. He was like, I
No,
gotta go.
no. I got
He had a
so,
crisp popcorn moment.
I got so fragranced. You know the access to under the bleachers?
Yeah.
I went under there and passed out until morning.
Oh my god!
I was almost late to school. That's why I wore the same clothes to
Yeah, me-
school the next day.
me
My
and Scott
mom
were
was
so
wondering what
confused.
happened. Thought I stayed at Harley's house, and
So confused at what.
that's
exactly
okay.
happened.
Well, I was a lightweight, and so I.
Then the other time that gets brought up, and I'm going to bring it up because this is between me and Bob here, is I was in a band with Bob for a while.
I was blown away Bob didn't bring this up.
I didn't.
Yeah, I
Ooh.
had to at this point
I
because
know.
he didn't. So
Jeff kicked me out of the band.
I want to discuss exactly how that came to pass because it wasn't really my choice. Okay.
Well, really?
It wasn't, and it was half.
It wasn't.
It was 99% my fault.
So we had a band called Pinion, and at that time, the members of Pinion had gotten upset that Bob wasn't showing up to practice because he was working all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you could say they expressed their opinion.
They yes.
Ooh,
And-
yeah.
And then one evening they were like, everybody draw a straw. Anybody who draws the shortest straw has to tell Bob he's out of the.
Yeah.
And I drew the shortest straw. I tried to draw first because I thought I had the best chances. And no, of course, I first draw and I have the shortest straw right out of the gate. And they're like, you got to do it. So I had to go tell him.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to go tell him at work because he was working at the time. So I go when I show up at his Wendy's to tell him, hey, I'm sorry, man, you've been kicked out of the band. And he's like, did you decide this?
Mm-hmm.
And for like easily a year or better, he didn't like me.
Well, here's the thing. He didn't deny that he had decided it. I actually knew. I actually didn't like you for a long time because
you thought I was trying to be your best friend's friend, and then you were like, you're stealing my best friend. That's what I got.
No, hold on. So I was
hung out
actually
with John, and you were like, oh.
No. Well, I wasn't going to drop a name, but so I won't reference that name again.
Okay.
But so what I thought. So that person and myself were roommates.
Mm-hmm.
I caught him doing something exceptionally untoward.
Yeah.
Let's
heard about it afterward.
Let's just say that it is one thing that you just don't conceive of doing if you're a man. You just don't. And I caught him up and I pinned him against the fridge and he pissed himself. And I will just put it out there. He pissed himself like a little girl.
I mean, as he pissed himself like a scared person.
Fair. But he knew I was serious. And then at that point in time...
Man, are we the troublemakers?
No, we just don't tolerate ignorance.
I don't know. We might be the troublemakers.
Maybe. But then I thought that
That's
considering all that, because it happened literally like a week, maybe a week and a half prior to me being kicked out.
Wait, Steve, are we the troublemakers?
Jeff and I are.
Yes.
Okay. Jeff and I are. But either way.
Oh, that's a
Thank
cold
you for
beer
the
you
beer.
just shoved between my legs. You're welcome.
But yeah, I thought honestly you were covering for him, hence made you culpable.
I was just trying to do what everybody decided.
So that's why initially I was mad, and then I got over it because then I got married, had kids, so
And then he abandoned a PA system in a band that I had literally joined just 2 weeks prior.
Okay, and so my
I
final,
know, right? Yeah.
Christabel.
I dropped some money on that too.
Okay, so Mr. Christabel.
What?
Christabel.
No.
So this is Jefferson. Jefferson is now referring to Christabel.
Am I Roberto?
You are Roberto.
Okay.
Roberto.
At least
He's Chadwick.
At least, what are
And I
you,
am
Stevenson?
No, I'm Esteban.
He's
Esteban.
No, you're Stevenson.
No, Esteban.
No.
So, Christopher, though.
Esteban
Esteban.
Stevenson.
We
Esteban
were doing a CD release party. I think it was for the very first, wasn't it? Or was it the first album?
No,
or was it
that
the
would have
second
been
release?
at C Street.
C Street release. So was it the
No,
second
that
release?
It had to have been the second. Well, that would
The
have been
second
at
EP, right? Or not
Well-
EP, the LP.
second technical LP release was over at CS3.
I never saw you guys there.
No,
I was in Florida.
So was it the first one then?
Mm-mm.
I doubt it.
I don't remember which CD release. He
Okay, to
played
all
out with us.
to everybody listening, I do apologize. I have to go pee.
over at Columbia Street.
Every time, dude, it's still in the same spot.
Watch the beverages.
Every time I hit my head, every time.
But
I swear to God, he's going to owe me $400 soon. So,
it was a C Street show though.
No.
well then,
I've never seen you guys at C Street.
I thought you played out with
Swear.
us there.
no. So the first and the third album releases were at C Street.
That's right.
The
And then
second release was over at CS3.
CS3 with
Where you're probably thinking is the Dan charity show.
Music for the Mangans.
Yeah. That was at CS3.
Yes.
With Krosik and Leah's.
More and more.
More and more.
That's
Because
right.
She was the one that reached out because Mike Deaton
Yes.
was in a band that imploded.
I thought I had played out.
And
We
I
had
was
played out
social
with you
media
guys
maintenance. And I
Well,
saw
yeah,
her
we had
sober.
played out numerous times with the Kickbacks prior to that.
before that.
Yeah, it just over at the Berlin / Skeletoons or Carl's or wouldn't have been O's.
Would have been O's.
Because we didn't do any TKB shows with O's.
No, but was it Legends then? Was one of
Nope, they weren't around for Legends.
See how difficult this is? That's why I'm thinking about all four of you.
Well, you've had the most time.
Well, see, here's the background with Chris. Okay, so regardless of what have you, regardless of whatever,
we just were memorable.
At the time that I got to know him the best was at the time when I was working at this place called Skeletoons.
Oh, yep.
And I was able to reach out to him pretty reliably if I needed to fill in for any band to open for any of any of the bands that were coming from out of town. I tried to keep them on like archetype or with bands that I thought would help them always like escalate. And there was something to be said of like all the local bands in this town. Chris was playing constant, okay, and that was something that I knew.
But at this time, constant with one band.
and with one band, but it didn't matter. He was
we had 67 shows one year.
Every weekend, easily every weekend.
Yep.
A Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you could guarantee you could get him in someplace. So he became one of my go-to people, and then he started doing the music menu thing on Facebook, and I was just like, this guy's got it, man.
We loved your music menu.
Absolutely.
That took
absolutely.
me almost an hour every day.
Every day, man. It was well worth it.
Well, every week.
Yeah, it was well worth it because I would just pop onto your page on Facebook.
You were the usable. I love What's Up. I'm not knocking What's Up. They do a great service, but you were a lot easier of a filter.
It was I filtered by bands that either I would go see.
Yep.
So like, hey, I got the night off. Who am I going to go see? Bands that I played with.
Friends.
And a lot of times, even like bands that I played with for a while, if I did an out-of-town show, I would share their events for a while.
Yep.
Until, like a month, 6 weeks or whatever after the fact.
Yeah.
Just to see how the networking would go. But also, the reality of my music menu was tagging all the bands was the real effort. I mean, according to the calendar. But what that did was that defeated the algorithm to where everybody saw it.
Yep.
And so there was a little bit of
I'm not saying it wasn't selfish
in there, but it was also like, how can I make sure that like when people want to know what's going on with my friends, where's the action? So
action's right here, baby.
I'm glad it's mic's off. So the one thing I will say that was extremely beneficial though to all of that is, yes, we had done shows with TKB back in the day. I had met and interacted with you all the way back at Carl's and everything, but it was that type of stuff that actually, for me personally, because, and this is where I will admit the cynical nature for myself comes into play. After playing so many shows, being in enough bands and everything like that over the years, you end up losing interest in really trying to get to know quite a few people where it's like, I'm just here for the free pitcher of beer for the next couple months, and then I'm not going to be in another band or ever try to play my instrument ever again. And
that's crazy. So
there's a lot of people that have put
I won't mention the name, but there's only been one person that I've been in a band with less than 3 years.
Yeah?
I've been with Eric.
I know who you're talking about.
Since the beginning. So our first show was 2015.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
2014.
Yeah.
Jeff joined in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And then all my other projects, there's not been any replacements.
Yeah.
Sarek's the original. We added a fiddle player. Soda's the original lineup. Actually, I'm the second drummer. I wasn't the original drummer.
You were not the original for Soda.
Decade Divide, I wasn't the original drummer. Actually, it was Decade Divide is a Phoenix Rising from a previous project where they tried recruiting me. Salisbury Hill Gang.
I think though that you also
seeing a churn of musicians and members has not happened yet in my world.
So
Gotcha.
I think though also you fell into a very specific group of musicians because like all those people I've known forever too, and they like even if they weren't playing in the bands that they currently were, they would be playing in something.
Jeff dated your sister, right?
Yep.
Yeah, his
Guitar.
other band's bass player, not
Yeah,
the
well,
Jeff
no,
in
no,
our
no,
band.
No, fair. I need to be specific. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I think we've discovered that I'm the enigma right here.
little bit.
A little bit, but not because, like I was saying,
slowly filtered in and was like, oh.
I mean, to be
and
fair,
then everybody knows me. They're like, where'd you come from?
to be fair, I'm old as dirt.
Yes, you are.
Like, because there was like literally like a whole decade plus with Mob 9 before I knew most of these guys. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's
other than Chad. Chad's
was
your
the only
enigma.
one. Yeah, Chad was the only one I knew out of that same circle and at this same circle at that time. So, I mean,
what we have fully figured out is that none of us are memorable individuals to Chris.
Yeah, that's fair.
So to your point,
That
you
is
said,
fair.
listen, I was brand new to the scene.
Yes.
I'm learning everything about everything that I can about marketing, promotion, building a band, networking, like
Doing a good performance.
everything.
I will
while at the
say-
same trying to pull my bandmates who really
I will
still
say,
don't pull their weight. But,
when I met Chris,
Hold on. Don't
I
talk
can.
bad about me, dude.
I will say when I
The
met
shoe
Chris,
Oh, ouch.
Oh, hey, Cinderella.
when I met Chris on all the back and forth on
What does Cinderella say when she gets to the ball?
squirrel.
Hashtag retake. But
Jeff was trying.
yeah,
to
Jeff,
Point.
please
Sorry, go ahead.
interject
Please make your
point.
point before I said it.
at the time that I was meeting Chris, as far as musicians here in this town, he was so ready to play. He was
Yes.
so ready and willing. It was pulling teeth with literally everybody else but him at the time. And I will never forget at the times that I was trying to get things to go with Skeletoons, I was reaching out to this guy quite a bit more than I wanted to be reaching out to him.
Well, and I want to throw out a caveat for everybody out there. There was an attempted understanding that, like, Jeff and I had this conversation numerous times of not putting Contrøller onto every single show,
Yeah,
just
absolutely
because he quote unquote had the access. Because it's
Yeah.
like, we're not going to try to show a nepotism type situation
and then on the
here.
back end of it too is like
Good
I don't
word.
want to put my band up with bands that aren't going to showcase each other well. You know, like if we got a black metal show, I don't want Contrøller trying to hit the stage and keep up with a black metal band,
Right.
Or like a sludge rock band, or if it's even straight a grunge band or more radio friendly, I want to make sure that it fills correctly. So. But the frustrating end was I had this drummer guy who was part of a really good band.
We were pretty commercial too. So
Yeah.
Yep.
They were
around.
solid. And I'm trying to set him up with as many shows as I can because he's available.
He was home.
I
Sounds a
he was
drummer.
hungry, dude. Like that is
He was
he was
hungry.
thirsty, man. And there were so many people that just weren't. And it
Yes.
was driving me nuts.
Still,
And it's still that way. It is
Yep.
absolutely
that's why
still
bands
that
are
way.
looking for drummers.
Yep.
So here I am setting up shows, and it's like every other weekend for a month or something like that. I'm
Hey.
seeing you.
Hey, what
And
you
I
said
even-
what are you guys doing?
I even got my bosses at that place at the time coming up to me, and they're like, "Why are the Kickbacks playing like literally every other week?" I'm like, "Go ahead and talk to anybody else." And the liaison for all of that was this guy here.
Yes.
So when we finally got to the point where we had washout incidences with drummers and situations with their lives and so on that changed it out. I don't want to talk smack. But when we finally got to the point where we were looking again, I'm like, Chris. And he mentioned him first.
Mhm.
Chad mentioned him first. And I was like, yes. Because I worked with
Actually,
him on that
Bob mentioned
that
me first.
component
Yeah.
beforehand.
Yeah,
but I was already
I
screaming
messaged
it
Chris
beforehand.
In
first.
2018, he cornered me in O'Sullivan's and was like, "Hey, so I have a real good authority that Contrøller might be looking for a drummer.
Yep.
Are you interested?" I'm like,
Well, at
So-
that time, like I don't
I'm too
count that
busy
as I don't count that
with
as
my one
much.
band.
Yeah, because you weren't.
Yeah.
You were really.
Thank you, Chris, for
anti that.
giving credit where credit's due.
But at
Now-
the point where you had like two other bands going, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna ask him now.
Well, and Chris and I think have had this conversation too. Even at that point, comparison to what our catalog was, comparison to what he was playing regularly at that point, were two totally
can just say
contradicting
it, I
styles.
Yeah.
"I sucked."
It didn't. No,
Well, no, you just
were
hadn't
great.
put the time into
I
the
didn't have
double
the
kick
caliber.
work. Well, you hadn't put the time in the double
Why are
kick
we
work.
talking about me? This isn't what.
Because I was talking about how I met you and all the other stuff, and they digressed. They digressed.
Remember
digress.
the bonus feature circle jerk? I guess we're at that point now. I didn't realize I was participating.
All right. Well, okay, Chris. Now you get to talk about how you met us all.
That's the thing. I don't. That's the reality of it. Is I had met so many people so quickly.
Yeah.
In the first 2 years,
You don't
that
really remember.
There's not a lot that I can remember other than like I want to do a show with them. I want to do a show with them. Like you said, I was hungry to just play shows and network and meet as many people as I could.
I will say, between you and I, there was an overlap of the karaoke thing, and you knew my second wife and were friends with her, and I got to know you a little bit more through the karaoke scene that we were hanging out with.
Karaoke was my way of also like networking, like not really like just being public, being out there,
get to know,
figuring out who the cool
Getting
people outside were.
behind the scenes.
Well,
why did he attach to us?
It was so people would
say it worked.
recognize my face, and so when they would see me out at doing something else, they would like, "Hey, you did karaoke or whatever." And eventually, you can strike up those conversations. Like, oh, did you know I'm actually in a band?
Yep.
So then I was a networking fool, man.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
you were.
Karaoke
Yes, you were.
3 to 5 nights a week. I was doing shows.
and I'm
as often
proud of
as I
you for
could.
it, man. You went after
I was
it.
meeting a lot of people, so
You were.
it wasn't anything against it. I
No,
just
not at all. You did
don't
the right
remember.
thing. You did after it. You went after it, and you kept going, and that's what you're supposed
Well,
to do.
and I will put it this way. I personally believe that had you not gone after it that way, you probably wouldn't have been a name
Nope.
that we would have like known about
Yep.
Right.
later on down the road
Now-
because you threw yourself out there enough for everybody to know who you were.
Now, have we ever talked about the air drummer on here?
No.
So hold on, I want to say it. I want to say it. So when was it? It
wasn't with his audition. It was
with
one
him.
prior.
So unfortunately, we before Chris, we had a couple of different audition situations.
Well, no,
and
before Chris.
I understand. But to clarify, yes, before Chris's audition, we had an audition prior where we had a gentleman, and he's probably not relevant, so by the name of Paul. I'm going to be very just ruthless because he was pretty just
Now, I want to really quick add some subcontext. There were two different Pauls.
Yes.
One of them that actually showed up for audition.
Yes.
If you, by some fluke, are watching this, this is not
is
you.
not you.
We
This
are
is
not
not you.
pertaining to
It
you
is not
at
pertaining
all.
to you, and
But-
you would understand when the story just. Yes,
But before it got there,
so please,
I want-
so please don't take it as that. My apologies to that Paul. So this Paul, we did the meetup situation, like even when we did with Chris, had a
On
beer with
mutual
him,
ground.
mutual ground. We knew it, like we sat down. We wanted to, like, hey, is this something you're
Interview
interested
and
in?
assessment.
Yeah, exactly. So in it, we're asking him.
I love the look on
like,
Jeff's
okay,
face.
hey, so as we're sitting here asking him, so hey,
Patreon moment.
what type of kit do you play on? Hey, so how long have you been playing? What other bands have you played in? Do you have any recordings of you playing? Whatnot? And the instant answer we got was, yeah, I've been playing for a really long time, and but okay, great. Well, what type of kit do you play on? Well, I don't have a kit, but I've been air drumming for the past.
No. Remember, he said
Yeah,
he had
he
just
just
got.
bought his kit.
He just bought his kit, but he's been air drumming
for about 8 years. No, beatboxing at least gives you the beat.
air drumming for 8 years. Now, so then that means, no offense, if we were to have recruited an air drummer, Chris, you technically would have been irrelevant.
Oh, my goodness.
Air drumming's the way to go, right?
I mean,
That's
like,
where
on
all
the
this led
back
to.
end,
No,
on
I
the
just would have had more time for my other
Well,
projects.
Patreon moment.
Well done. But
of
so
relevancy.
and then if that didn't make matters worse, the entire time he was hitting on my ex.
yes, yeah,
The
his ex
entire time.
Got a
How
little
great
sketchy.
of an impression to make than to hit on one of the band members' ladies, literally in front of everybody.
So
if you don't already come across as a douche.
if you're paying attention, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't be an air drummer and then hit on the bands that you're interviewing with, girlfriend or wife.
Like, honestly, you could have stopped with
Rule
don't be
number
an
one:
air
don't be an
drummer.
air drummer.
So instantly,
Don't
the whole
be an air
when he
drummer.
told me he was an air drummer, all I could picture was him doing Phil Collins in the air tonight.
I can feel it
And I
Hey.
believe the follow-up question when he said that I've been air drumming, I said, I don't see how that works. And he said, oh, don't worry. That's because I already know where everything would be positioned and it would land every time.
Are you forgetting what I said when he said that?
No, I am forgetting that.
I looked over and then I looked at Jeff and I said, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, and he was really loud about it.
I was
too.
really loud. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go get a beer. Like, screw this."
Yep. So,
That was about the time he started hitting on your girl.
So
at that
anyway.
time.
Oh yeah.
So
I don't remember
Chris
how I met y'all.
DeBellis.
So Chris is pretty confident that a lot of it had to do with at least what I can gather. At least Chad and Bob was probably karaoke.
Yeah.
Jeff was because he was in desperate need of a band whore,
Probably.
and
You're
me,
a whore.
No, I was the one.
just
going
because
and
I
buying the horse.
came up and introduced myself at Carl's.
Yep.
Hey, Carl.
Hey, Cole.
And I'm like,
But-
hey, what are you doing Saturday?
Yeah, the number of shows we did together though was just
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot,
It was intense.
actually.
Yeah, we
It
did a
really
lot.
was a core group of bands that would always we would just rotate.
Well, that's
who was playing at
you know,
Roast it.
I think between you and
guys.
Steve, you're so business
Business.
centered, and he is very business centered.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like a lot of the workings was between you guys when it was a controller and
Well,
kickback show.
let's be real. I got to be real honest. There was a period of time in all of this circle where if you were in a band, that meant you liked to party. And that
Yes.
party scene doesn't conducively create people who are reliable.
I don't
I'm
think
sorry,
that's-
I love you guys, but partying all the time doesn't mean that you're waking up on time and meeting all your deadlines.
Now, that being said, we all were guilty of that,
This is true.
but we were guilty of that with our previous bands.
exactly.
That goes
Fair.
back to, like I said, all my projects have been pretty mainstays. Like,
Well, I think
I've got
the
one
big
that's on hiatus right now. I don't know if we're gonna get back
But-
together.
but what
they've
I
not
was-
been rotating members. It's been
What I
I've
was
had
getting-
to reel in a vocalist once or twice.
What
I
I
won't
was
mention his name.
getting at though is that of the circle of people that are playing in this scene that are playing out here, they all lucked out. They were all serious about it. They were all after the music end of
Yes.
it. Same with Kurosik. Same with a lot of the circle of our close friends. It's like
Element
yes,
Indigo.
Yes.
Shout out to you guys.
yeah,
Ooh, that's a
absolutely.
good name that I haven't heard in a
So there were those bands that were good for the party and could pull a show sometimes. And then there was those bands that could pull a show all the times. And sometimes they were down for the party, but most of the time they had to go home because they had bills to pay.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference is, like, for you had, in previous episodes, we've talked about this to a degree where we were already in some capacity in our younger years doing the band thing, maybe not to a serious level, but we were just doing the band thing. Whereas you had done the family thing and then gotten into the band thing. So you already were coming into it with a more mature standpoint of more of what you were wanting to achieve with it. Where we were just going, I heard there's going to be beer if we play this show.
Right, exactly.
Type thing.
Yeah.
I
I was never
remember
ready for the party.
being under 21, hanging out in the back room of Legends, going,
Yeah, over by the
hey,
pool tables.
Hey, you're 21. Go buy me a beer.
Weirdly,
Yeah.
I don't think I was ever in it for the party, too.
Funny
It was
thing is, I never
always,
asked
like,
you guys to buy me a
song.
beer when I couldn't.
No,
It was
because
always like
It's
one
always been
song
Nazis
that
always
I
watching.
wanted
Oh,
to
the
sing.
door
Yeah, you
Nazi,
sat at the
but
table,
man.
buddy. We
That's
couldn't
all
get
I
you one.
wanted was that song
Oh, they
to be
sat
played.
me there and watched me
Oh,
like a hawk.
Just to
Mom
see what
watched
they
him.
did.
Oh, I know
all
she
the
did.
time.
I know she
like, 'cause
did.
It meant that much to me.
And I was-
like,
and I never
somebody's
really
gotta get
moved.
this, you know.
I abided by the
That's
rules.
been me 100% all the time.
No, I
Is
mean,
that if
I-
I'm like
That's funny because now I do kind of remember. Oh yeah, the singer has to sit over by the door because he's not of age.
He's 20, not 21, and I'm just sitting there like, dude, I'm not.
That was the project.
And the funny thing is, at the time, I didn't drink.
I really didn't care about.
No, you didn't.
My first show at Legends, I was 18.
I was like,
and I
just
came in through the back door when loading my equipment, and I just stayed back there.
Yeah, I never drank. I would have been like, hey, can I have a pop or a water?
But yeah, to Jeff, I agree. For a lot of the aspects, I was in it for the music purposes.
Yep.
But at the same time, just as well as I did back then, I went hard.
Yeah, everybody did.
I
Everybody
Yeah.
did.
So-
we all.
I went really, really hard. So that was just a huge bonus
Yeah.
of the. I'm gonna drink, and I'm gonna really drink tonight for free.
I didn't do that very often, but I will tell you, I was reminded of that on Friday night.
Ooh.
I don't know, Steve.
I'm gonna give this to you.
Okay.
Story
after
time
I
with
left
Chris.
a show, I ended up at another bar, which is just minutes from my house. So yeah, I'll have one more. One of my favorite bartenders was serving. She's like,
Was that the
I've got all these drinks that I've made that are
craft cocktail picture
Yeah,
I saw?
She's like, I got all these drinks I made. Would you like to try one? I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I've made these are my recipes. I handpicked the apples from
wow.
my own orchard. I've made my own cider. So I was like,
Yeah.
nobody sees where this is going. Okay.
Yep.
So
Oh, I do.
I
I'm
was
hungry.
like, okay, cool. I will. I'll try one. So I picked the one that looked like a margarita. It was called Apple Orchard.
Oh no.
And love you, Kelsey, but my very first taste was instant regret. The drink tasted wonderful. Let me say that. The drink was wonderful.
But
it
you know what
reminded
you
me-
got into
It
once you.
reminded me of November of 2017.
17?
Oh no. Oh no.
Where'd Chris go?
Thanks, Mary Jane.
I believe he's out by the bleachers.
What's he doing there?
There were bleachers out there, and it was raining. And I was like, it'll just wash away the evidence. It's cool.
Yeah.
So Kelsey, green hair Kelsey.
Blue now, but Kelsey
Oh
Parsons.
yeah, Parsons.
But
Love
yeah,
her. She's awesome.
so
Yeah.
I don't know.
wasn't trying to party, but that reminded me of the party.
I'm not saying and it's not that we still don't have the party moment. I want to
Oh,
make
yeah.
that clear. It's not that we all still don't have the party moment. Occasionally.
I don't really
Well, again, I
feel
knew
like
I was 4 minutes from my house, so
Right.
I knew, I could get schlitzed and stagger home. But I had
Right.
to.
Yeah.
Nobody was going to let me, but I could have.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
have.
sometimes Chris has popcorn moments and then nobody knows.
When you hit that threshold, you're like, it's now or never, boy. Let's
Now
go.
or never.
Let's go. We're doing this.
Let's flex and go.
And by flexing, you're like, get the hell out of it.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's yes, there is still the motivation and the music was there and everything like that, but that's I think the one big caveat that's a difference between the four of our story and Chris's. We had for ourselves at least almost a 15-year,
Yes.
Yeah.
if not longer for some of
Man.
us, jump on
Yeah.
being in a band and going through the motions on this.
You have to remember, I was dad, I was Mr. Responsible all the way up until like 2012, 2013, and then 2014 is when I was in my first band. At this point, I'm already 34 years old.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
where
never really did that because it was all about trying to just perform, get music out there. And
In all honesty, you and I were slightly similar. I had the initial jump in my extreme younger years, and then I had my first kid at 21,
same.
and then I was family man until he called me
yeah.
and was like, hey, what are you doing? I heard you're divorced. I heard this and blah, blah, blah. Would you consider working on this project I have?
Yeah, because it wasn't even for a live
It
purpose.
wasn't even
It
for
was a
live.
recording
It was just
project.
recording. Hey, I have.
Controller wasn't even for a
Yeah.
live
You know
purpose.
what I learned about this when we went back on this? I don't really think I'm nearly as violent as I used to.
Just shut up.
No,
Yes, you are.
no.
No, he says.
I don't
now
think
he's not as
think
violent
I
now.
think I'm.
Yeah, he's not as
chill.
violent.
Oh, wait a
now.
minute. So am I violent?
I don't know.
I think that's because you're not out in public as much. If you were, you'd still be equally as violent.
People.
You just don't have the opportunities. So
No one answered me on me being violent.
No, you're
think
still very
you're
violent.
violent.
But
I don't think he's violent. He's working like throughout. He's fine.
Yeah, he works in customer service. He's perpetually violent. But
hey, I'm just saying sometimes the Karens deserve it.
I'm not stating that they don't. I'm still stating, though, customer service. You're
He takes it out
violent.
on his D&D players.
He takes it out on his band.
I do.
So
you're all going to die.
You're all
actually,
gonna die.
Yeah.
But,
Today, I'm the
So
only one that's
da-na-na-na-na.
actually struck any of you when I started throwing sticks at him.
I mean, this is true. This is true.
They weren't fists, but they were
Hold on.
definitely like.
He's only hit me once with a stick.
He's missed.
That's because I was.
He's like, if I hit him, he's gonna hurt
The full
him.
intent was there.
Yeah, I'm gonna
you
hurt
moved.
him. If I hit
It
him.
wasn't that he wasn't going to hit you more. You
So is
moved.
that what it is? I have to, while I'm on stage, I have to juke and
That was
move.
the
Yeah,
inebriation.
yeah. You
honestly,
better keep
I
moving.
had beer goggles on. I wasn't going to. You could have stood 3 feet in
No,
front of me. I still probably
the
would've-
only reason he even threw him was because you called him out on being a little drunk.
Yep. A little.
a little.
Like in comparison to the lot of drunk
Well-
that we've gotten him before, he was only a little.
He was
I
only
was
a
in a
little.
mood.
I've
won't visit
I've
that
called myself on stage. for
Wow,
being
what a
drunk.
memory
But
lane this
he didn't
was.
want you to call him
Yeah.
out on stage.
Publicly, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fair. And
Yep.
then I need to. Do I
No,
Yes.
publicly
you've already-
apologize?
No, you already got hit with the stick. It's
Okay.
past.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, it's done.
But
You've been dealt with.
I love you, Chris. I'm sorry.
But yeah, with this, it kind of shows that yes, we all have our own personal stories and everything like that. They go some way back with certain individuals. Some, were just forgettable faces.
It's okay.
That would've made a
I'm really
way
glad
better
it-
story.
hey.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think we'd
that
have a
would've been-
band if I would have gone.
Jeff,
Here you
all
go.
4'11" of me, and
Yeah,
I was.
well, man, you were still barreling up on
I
us.
was. I juked. I was in track at the time.
Well, everybody's glad for this, and
I heard that.
I hope all the listeners are glad that we got to talk about our past
Probably a
here.
2-part.
Yeah, this is a two-parter.
Big,
Yeah.
big memory lane here.
But yeah, the important things that were needing to come up before the release of everything about the show got at least in the front part for the first part
Yes.
of this episode and everything.
Yes,
but
come join us over at Pierre's.
I'm sure that
Something after.
the show's already
Well,
happened. but-
thank you for have joined us.
Thank you for joining
Yeah.
us at Pierre's.
we had a great time.
It was awesome.
awesome.
It was
Thank you for
amazing.
being
It was a
there.
great show.
All right.
hope so.
We've
But
never
every-
had such a big turnout. So we sold all of the CDs. Thank you so
Thank you
much
so
for coming
much.
and buying our merch.
And thank
Love
you
you guys.
thank you for joining us on the podcast as usual.
Absolutely. What's the name of the podcast?
Yeah.
Actually, Contrøller?
Absolute. Oh yeah, actually.
Actually,
No,
Contrøller.
absolutely. You're absolutely wrong.
Thank you for sticking
Were
around
you
for
actually-
Contrøller.
I was-
Okay.
That's why
I was
That
like,
was
like
me.
4 times.
That
please
was
tell me
me.
you're
He almost
setting
said
him
it
up.
again.
All right. Ready? Love your faces.
Love you.
Love you
We'll
guys.
see you guys next time.
Have a
Later.
good day.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Actually Contrøller. If you liked what you heard, please consider following us on all our socials. You can easily find us on all the different platforms by going to linktree/Contrøller33 or scan the QR code if you are watching the video version of this episode. Thank you.